Breakpoint on Sporty FM. Beyond Sport.
Clock this morning, and of course, the show right now is the Breakpoint. My name is Kwanya Joshua.
Yes, and of course, this is Hilda Chepto. You can call me Chep, and it is Sporty FM KE on all social media platforms.
You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 0733222106. And right now, imewadia ile wakati tulikuwa tunangoja sana to speak to Grace Kiraguri, Sports for Development Consultant.
Yes.
Grace, yes. Karibu sana to Sport FM.
Asante sana. I'm thankful to be here.
Yes.
Grateful. Yes.
For our listener who might be wondering who Grace is, please make the listener know or understand who Grace is really.
Okay. To the listener, my name is Grace Kiraguri, as you've heard. I am a sports entrepreneur. I know you're asking what's a sports entrepreneur, but I got into the sporting sector through entrepreneurship. So I'm not necessarily an athlete. I found a space in the sports center, in the sports industry to run a business. So I ran a business for over 15 years called Icon Sports Marketing. So I'm the founder. But unfortunately, COVID happened and I had to, the business went under, and I revamped myself back. As opposed to going back to the sports sector commercially, I came back to the sports sector stronger, but using the arm of sports for development. That's why I call myself a sports for development. So I push the agenda that sports is a business and you can earn a living from sports. But equally, I use the sports platform for development in terms of creating opportunities for many more people to play and creating opportunities for people to learn through sports as a vehicle. That's how I revamped back. So yeah, I've been a shrewd entrepreneur. Yeah, Kenya Open. I managed Kenya Open many years ago from 2010 when it had no title sponsor. It became Parkless Kenya Open. It transitioned to Magical Kenya.
Yes.
So throughout that 10-year period, I managed golf. I did rugby. I did the Safari 7. Again, I'm very famous for transition. I transitioned Safari 7s from Tusker Safari 7s. We moved to Safaricom 7s. So those were my early years of entry into the sports industry. So I've been across almost very many sports sector, but that time it was purely on a commercial heart. That to make the business, I've seen the opportunity and I'm running with it. I also did a lot of work for Coca-Cola with golf. I was a hydration agency. So as far as being in the sports sector is concerned, a few of you will know me because they've seen me.
Yes.
But COVID happened, and when COVID happens, for me it was a time to learn and relearn and to realize that what I have already learned in the past, I can use it differently.
Yes.
And just a reminder that I'm a trained teacher. So I also came back in terms of training women on entrepreneurship because I had done business for 16 years. Why not come back and use that knowledge to train women? So I'm in the sports sector through that angle. So I do both mentorship, I do training, and I do programs. Yeah.
Yes, and not those ask, what is sports for development?
Sports for development, if I can break it down, is using sports to create platforms for people to better themselves through sports. For instance, it's not, most people know sports as a commercial element where you go, you play, you get money.
Yes.
Professional playing.
Yes.
That is one element. That's one outcome of sports. But sports for development is not about money. It's about using sports to learn, to mentor, to create stuff, to recreate yourself, to teach aspects of aspects of life, life skills, but using now sports as a vehicle. I'll give a very simple example so that anybody listening can just partake this.
Yes.
Right now, I am a director at Alive and Kicking. At Alive and Kicking, we're being sponsored to have a program that has using the sports for development where we do not do it commercially. We're doing it for the sake of developing, creating opportunities for the visually impaired to play. So this is a developmental aspect of sports. They're not going to be competing anywhere. You won't see them now running in the stadium. Yes. No. But are they playing? Yes. Are they creating opportunities to move, to play, to learn? Yes. And that's the other aspect of sports. So we have the competition, the people running with a very stiff competition, the golfers, the athletes, the marathon guys, all competing for money and all as a business. But we also have another softer side of sports where you can use it to teach soft skills, you can use it to mentor, you can use it to create spaces, safe spaces for girls, you can use it to create so there are many other array of other elements that you can use in the sports industry to still create opportunities for both play, mentorship, and growth.
Yes.
But you're not competing. So that's the main difference. You're not doing it for competitive reasons. So like for instance, the Teachers a Peer program we're using, we're just donating balls to all the schools that have been appointed by the ministry, that have Ministry of Education, that have students with visual impairment. First and foremost, for those students, sometimes in the school they don't have balls. So what are we doing as a live and kicking? We're giving them sound ball, and just make sure to explain to the listener what a sound ball is. The blind people or the visually impaired people are not necessarily able to see, but can they play? Yes, they can play. How do you make them know that a ball is there? We put some jingles. So the ball moves with sound. As the ball is moving with the sound, they are following it and they are playing. So all that part, nobody's competing. But it's just creating an enabling environment. And that's what sports does. And it is one of the most, for me, it's one of the most fulfilling projects. Why? Because you're making a group. You're sort of doing what is called inclusion in the sports sector, including people who ordinarily nobody might
not
give them opportunities
opportunities.
for play, but you're creating that platform. And even if you're playing, they're not playing competitively, but they're rigorous, they're moving, and you can see the joy. You don't have, they cannot see you.
So we can say wanajibamba.
They are just like it. In fact, when you give them the ball and they know it's a ball, they light up. They really light up, and for me that's a joy. So that's the completely opposite of competition ni wakati wa do nakimbia marathon
wanaitafuta
hiyo ni kutafuta, and that's a professional. Even like rugby, football, they're all that, and they're good, and they keep the body fit. But how do we look at other people who would want to use sports, but they're not entirely using it for competition?
Absolutely.
So keeping healthy, keeping fit, learning life skills, mentoring, opening up safe spaces for women, opening up safe spaces for the visually impaired or the deaf. So that sort of element defines what is sports for development.
Wow.
It develops them into whole holistic human being, even though they're not necessarily competing.
Seems like a very wide area.
It is. It is. Even when I got to it, even I was surprised. Because remember, I was coming from the money side.
The commercial side.
But it gives me a lot of joy to jump into the social impact. And that's what sports for development does. It elevates the sports element. Like even those basketball girls that have been training for basketball mtaani. Well, I don't train myself. Remember, I'm not a player, I'm not an athlete, but I'm a program person. So I'm able to bring coaches together, bring the universities together, using my intelligence or using the gift of having been in the sports industry for long. But my concentration will be on mentoring, teaching them emotional intelligence, teaching them personal branding, teaching them communication skills. These are other aspects of holistic development that would not be taught by a coach. A coach wants you to go and compete. Ni vikombe. Nibake na vikombe.
Kushinda.
So the winning element is pushed on the professional side, and that's the beauty about sports. But there's another side about sports, that how do you develop those same people to be holistic human beings, so that even if they never ever move into the professional development professionally, they still use other skills that are a well-rounded person. That's another element of sports for development. So I think I've been breaking it down pole together. But you get the difference now?
We get the difference. You said you're a trained teacher. How has being a teacher helped you in all this process of sports for development?
Can you see how confident I am when I talk? A teacher speaks to the whole classroom and doesn't get shy. A teacher is trained to read human beings psychologically. So the training of being a teacher gives me this platform that leo hata mkiniti hata prezo mi siwezi ogopa niko sawa because the confidence, you got used to speaking to very many people, you got used to moving. So I was trained at KU, though I never really went to teach in a classroom. I only did my teaching practice. But that teaching and knowledge, I'm tapping it back into it many years now. When I revamped into the sports for development sector, because I have to train. Training here, not training ile physical atitizi, train other skills, emotional intelligence. I have to make my notes, I have to make my presentation, I have to remember that as a teacher, the objective of this learn, by the end of this lesson, the learner must be able to define one, two. So you see those skills, I learned them many years ago at the university. But am I pulling them back now to add on to my strength of training? Yes. So speaking ability, teaching ability, confidence, unpacking the theories. Because if you just look at emotional intelligence or you look at personal branding, come a class, how you deliver that content will be theoretical.
It has to
but
be
as a teacher, I have the teaching methodology. I understand the dynamics of teaching adults. So it's not the same way I could have taught in Form 2. So that ability Akia Mungu imenisaidia sana.
And something interesting, Grace, I want to take you a little bit back.
Yes.
Your first time introduction into sports.
Okay.
That story, you know,
Okay.
I've heard that story. I think you've shared with me in a different space. I would love you to just to share with our listeners your first introduction
Okay, into sports.
into sports.
Okay, interestingly, because I've shared this in a different platform and I don't shy sharing it.
Yes.
So I used to work in the corporate sector. And then, as you know, the way things are, sometimes you wake up and you don't have a job.
Yes.
Either you've been laid off or been fired. It can only be the two of them. So at my early age, I lost my job. And when I lost my job, I'm sitting there wondering, okay, now I've lost my job. Who am I? Or what am I supposed to do? You know, you kind of sound lost,
Yeah.
because even your phone doesn't ring. I always tell guys, your people don't call you. You are because of the job. So agency could call you, because I was a brand manager. So agency is calling you, radio is calling you for interviews to talk about this brand. Marketing budgets, I don't know what now.
It's silent.
Yeah, so
now.
it's silent.
Yeah.
So in that silence, a very good friend of mine then told, I started feeling like, first and foremost, I went down, then I came up. You know, you first go down because it's a reality, you've been hit. But then you come up, and how you come up is friends come and brag behind you.
Yeah.
She was told me, just be coming to my office, read the newspaper. Just come, sit down, read the newspaper, try and see if your jobs you're going to apply. But in the process of reading the newspapers, we got to know that there was a job happening at the IAAF World Cross Country Championships in 2007. So I'm not up a minimum. Don't start marking out my age, because that means by then, in 2007, that means by then I have already lost a job. So I've already worked several years.
Nimeanza kupiga hesabu.
Hesabu usipige sana. Lakini that means I've already worked several years and then I've lost my job.
Yes.
And then this event is coming into Kenya. And this event coming into Kenya, surprisingly, they wanted to get somebody who has marketing knowledge.
Yes.
Because there was an element of selling Kenya. How does Kenya position itself as a champion in World Cross Country Championship? I think we had not lost in any of the cross country championships across the world. So when Kenya was hosting it, we need to be proud as a country. But how do we then marry our heritage as a country, sports, and still market Kenya?
Yeah.
So they were looking, the secretariat then was looking for somebody with marketing skills, and they were not necessarily looking for an athlete. And that's when I went for the interview. And first of all, when I went to interview, I looked at people there. I saw I'm the only one who doesn't know what sports. It wasn't me. I'm not a runner. I wasn't. Really, I wasn't anything. So I asked myself, would they really take me for this interview, or will they take me for this job? I gave myself I've been recommended, so let me go. When I went to that place, I found many people, and then I was like, okay, let me just sit there. There's always something you feel when you're like, it's called the imposter syndrome, like you're not enough for that position. Because I don't know anything about sports. All I know is about marketing. I know about brand. I know the jargon about brands. I know about brand colors. I know about the Pantone colors. So I would go there and razzmatazz them with all that jargon, but I'm not an athlete. Funny enough, I think I was the last to enter into the interview. I entered into this interview, and at that particular time, I like saying that there were only men. So I was like, wow, is this what happens in the world of sports? I had 6 men, and the chairman then was the late Isaiah Kiplagat, who was athletics, the Joshua Okuthe, the kind of, that was the caliber that I met at that particular time.
High ranking
and much older.
Yeah.
I was, I think, as young as maybe then I could say maybe I was very young. I'm just pointing at Hilda here because I was very young. Yes. But I went in and I sold myself, and I'm coming back to the level of confidence, how you're confident about yourself, what you know, and you stick your gut to what you know.
Yes.
So I was able to position myself at anybody who can do different work. So I want to give a story here that, because I'm not ashamed of it. I used to work for PSI Kenya, and PSI Kenya then was pushing the trust condoms. I think that this generation would not know about that marketing, but we had big billboards across the country where we had, Semanami or whatever campaign we were running with.
Yeah.
And so I was able to say, I have come from selling and marketing products that are traditionally have a stigma. And they are taboo, but we have managed to penetrate. The Catholic Church then was against all that.
Yes.
So if you have been working in an industry where you are working with stigmatized products and you've still pushed in this market, I asked them, how about sports, which has got no taboo? It's only passion. I would thrive, And imagine that's how I got my job. Confidence, and telling them, I am coming to sell something boga. Nimetoka kutoka kuuza vitu ngumu hapa. vitu ngumu sana.
Yes.
Alafu munipatie chance ya kuuza kitu rahisi. I will run with it.
Yeah.
And imagine, I think that confidence, that convincing language, that being able, and I say also it's God who gave me that wisdom, because when I looked at that, I didn't have any others. I had no backup of many years of, since I was young. So even my brand experience wasn't even as lengthy as I was seeing some people there. But that's how now I got introduced into the sports sector. So I got in, I became the marketing consultant for the IAAF World Cross Country Championships in 2007.
Yes.
So I worked with the entire committee. And after that, after finishing the event, it may happen, President Kibaki has, see how many years ago I was talking about President Kibaki. Has come for the event. It was a grand event actually, because it brings the entire IAAF, the president, the whole world comes here. The entire organization moved from Monaco, and that's when when after the whole event happened, I asked myself, do I want to go back back into the employment there? I think here there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for
Hapa
me.
iko kazi.
Yeah.
Then I kind of started doing what is called Google. I Googled, sikuona any sports marketing company in Kenya then. I was seeing agencies of advertising then, but I'm not seeing anybody who is specifically doing sports. So together with some partners, we thought, why don't we just start this business? I think there's an opportunity, and I had really Googled. But what gave me so much confidence is when I Googled the US market and I saw the dollars in the industry.
Uliona mbesha.
Nikaona money. I saw the money.
Yes.
I said, I was seeing NBA. I was
The
seeing
potential was
so
great.
for me,
Yeah.
just being able to visualize what other continents are doing in the sports sector and reporting the billions in the industry, I was like, there were no billions in Kenya because there was no data. So I asked myself, then these are my billions, niingia huko ndani. Kuna siasa lakini niliingia. So that's how I found myself getting into the sports sector, but not because I'm an athlete, but because I saw the opportunity in the business sector, and now started doing rugby. I started off with now rugby. I came from World Cross Country Championships.
Athletics.
Nikatoka athletics sasa. Nikaingia na rugby.
Yes.
I think I did rugby. I did the Safari Sevens, and then I'm telling you, then we moved from doing Tusker to Safaricom Sevens.
Yes.
I did a bit of that, and I started doing golf. I did golf for more than 10 years. I hope you're not calculating my age, because this guy is adding up
The way he looks, anafanya hesabu.
wacha na hesabu. Nikafanya hizo, nikaanza ni Bamburi Super Series.
Yes.
Hakuna hizo vitu sijui, I've been able to do golf and even a whole circuit in the country. So that's how I saw the opportunity in sports. So for me, I always tell people, and I was telling her yesterday, if you call me a sports consultant, you might confuse people. They start asking me about the technical aspects. I like remaining that mimi yangu ni marketing and development of sports. It has nothing to do with ati sasa
VR nini?
Hapo wacha.
Hapo tu huko.
I'll surprise you that when I got the first consultancy for golf, we won now the tender to run the Kenya Open many years ago. I think it was 2008 or 10 or there, I can't remember. I think 2010. I want to say on air that I had never stepped into a golf course. Nimezisikia tu, but when you go to do the presentation, you read the night before, and and then you use your wisdom as a business person to partner with somebody who knows the field. So they will be the technical, you'll be speaking branding and marketing. So I was never speaking. I was very careful. I had learned a bit of the golf. I knew what was a tee box. I knew what was a birdie. And they were confusing. But that's all I needed to do, because I needed to speak marketing. How can brands leverage on sports to market themselves? That's my theory, and that was my theory of change. And another person is discussing
the technical
bits.
The scoreboard, I don't know the what, I don't know leaderboard.
So I wanted to ask, in fact, I just remembered, since you joined as when the late Isaiah Kiplagat was interviewing you, you didn't even know the lingua of the sport.
I did.
Have you gathered a few lingua in different sports, because you've been rugby, golf? Have you gathered a few?
Of course, now with time. Nikiingia biashara ni ile kujiuza. It was kujiuza. So I was very green in most of them. But let me tell you, if you're an entrepreneur by heart and you're a marketer, you focus on what you know best. Even when you go to pitch, I can outshine all of you who are talking about the technical. Why? Because
tushaingia baridi tayari.
So I come, and that's a strategy. I come and woo you, you buy into my story. Now I'm just asking technical, and even by the time I was finishing, I haven't done golf now since COVID, because I didn't get back into it. But even when I was finishing to that whole chapter of my life, I could never really know how to score. Like the points.
and the
Oh, I
negatives.
just use 5 Kenyans have made a cut.
Mm.
Now the Kenya Open, because it's a whole tournament.
Yes.
All I will be knowing is that Kenyans have made a cut. But for me, I'll be there. I'm saying, was the leaderboard branded? That's where I am.
Yeah.
Was the media well taken care of?
Yes.
Did we get enough coverage? So all those are the aspects. Did the ticketing work well? So all those event logistics and marketing, leave them to me. But the technical part, I did it. So hata sasa saa zingine me, I don't know the rugby hata nilielewa pia. Someone takes a ball and throws it between two
Did you
balls.
try conversion?
Really, but I was in the rugby field dominating it, ensuring that all sponsors get their rights for what they paid for, and therefore if they paid for this much money, they're entitled to this level of branding, this level of exposure. That becomes my speciality.
You focused on your strength and
yes, that is it.
And you just said a few things that I wanted to ask about our local clubs that we have in this country, be it football or even other clubs, rugby.
Yes.
Do you think they're doing much in terms of marketing that you are doing? Do you think our clubs, like
I was doing?
No, I'm just you're doing. Okay. Do you think our clubs are doing much in the marketing front?
I would say no. And I think the reason why is because the entire leadership in the sports sector is technocrats. You know, sometimes the ecosystem is bigger than the technocrats. The technocrats have to sometimes leverage on us. But I find like the entire leadership, umechagua chairman, assistant chairman, kila mtu ni kama ni rugby ni mtu wa rugby. So it's so the entire club system and the way the Kenyan structure is so dominated on the fact that everybody is techno. But if you look at clubs like Arsenal, which is normally, and I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I use it as literature. If you look at Real Madrid, if you look at the history of, I read them. If you look at some of them who have got successful case studies in the internet, and they have actually published their marketing strategy, their strategy for the club for the next 5 years. Even this team for New Zealand, for rugby, I remember the name. They have put their content out there. They have specialized people. Huyu ni wa ticketing. Huyu ni wa marketing.
Yeah, it's very, very specialized.
It's very specialized. And so those duties are left to those who can do that work.
Yeah.
And that's the concept we've not borrowed as a country. So as mimi ndio treasurer, I want to be the one also handling sponsorship. Jukuna pesa. But sponsorship is not your forte.
It's different. Yeah.
You will handle the money when the money comes to the bank. But how do you talk to the sponsor? What language are you going to use? The sponsors want to hear about visibility. They want to hear about spectator base. What's your spectator base?
Numbers.
And the return on
investment.
Yeah.
And whether those people can be converted into their product. So are you going to give them media exposure while in your... So all those elements, you're talking about exposure, you're talking about visibility, you're talking about... That's a language that a treasurer might not necessarily know. A treasurer is looking for money. So but if you were to open up that space and allow everybody has a cake and a part to play in that whole ecosystem.
The ecosystem, yes.
But sometimes the ecosystem doesn't allow that. It only flourishes the technocrats, and that's why we are different. If you look at, I'm giving those big clubs because I use them even in my class for teaching as clubs that have established a proper marketing strategy. So even the academies are run by special people who run the academies, but the person who does the marketing for that has got nothing to do with playing skills, because they don't have to play. Let the people who are running the academy, let the people who are FIFA qualified or whatever run with that technical part.
Yes.
But the selling and the exposure, managing the website content, because even your website talks for you. All those are elements that can be done by a sports marketing person. And so as long as we have that push and pull, and we never understand each other, and that we can work together for the benefit of this ecosystem, then we might not get ourselves to the next level. Some clubs are trying. But that's the way it is.
We have not got to those levels.
We've not.
We are not yet there. And you mentioned now there's some of the projects you've been part of, and one of them you've mentioned is Alive and Kicking. Yes, we'll have to know more about Alive and Kicking, and of course now the impact at the moment. How
are they kicking?
They're alive and they're kicking.
Yes.
I really love that name. It was given by our founder. Alive and Kicking has been in the business for 20 years. This is almost our 21st year. We celebrated 20 years last year. So Alive and Kicking is a social enterprise. A social enterprise that specializes in stitching of balls. So we hand stitch the balls for creating opportunities to play. So why are we a social enterprise? We're a social enterprise because when we are stitching the balls, we're getting labor from from the people within the neighborhood, normally from the informal sector, and you teach them a skill. So you teach them a skill to stitch a ball, and ordinarily these people, because of their level of education, maybe they would never have gotten a chance to get proper employment, but we at Alive and Kicking, we're looking at your ability to stitch. So we get all that people, they come, we employ them, and they go into the formal employment. So that's one way that we do as a social enterprise of giving back to society. Then the outcome of what we're doing is a ball, and this ball is made with locally available material. So we are sourcing everything almost 100%, I think maybe 90% from local. So we are supporting the local industry at the same time. That's why we are an enterprise, and then selling these balls at minimal or no profit at all, so that so the money we get, we use it for just running the operations, such that we keep the people employed, we keep people happy playing. So ours is to push the balls into the retail sector, push the balls into the programs, so that the more people get the ball, the more we get opportunities for people to play. So we are a double-edged in terms of what we are doing as an organization. And because of that, we have been able to therefore catch the attention of many people because of our story. But I want to talk about one story that is very impressive, the one we are currently doing right now. We are running a program called Tucheze Pia. So Tucheze Pia is a program for creating, it's an inclusion program, creating opportunities for play for people with visual impairment. And we have partnered with the Ministry of Education Special Needs Directorate so that we are able to identify which are these schools in Kenya that have children with visual impairment. And you'll be surprised, right now we have a list of about 84 given to us by the ministry. These are some of them are integrated, but some of them are purely like Thika School for the Blind. They're purely for the blind people. But because of the many needs that they require, including other e-mobility infrastructure for them to move around, half the time, what do they sacrifice? They sacrifice the balls or they sacrifice playing equipment. But they also need to play. So this program is looking at how do we increase play in those schools. So we are donating balls, and I talked about the sound ball, and we are donating goal balls. And I would like to use this platform to explain the difference between a sound ball and a goal ball. So there's a sport called goal ball. Goal ball is a sport for an Olympic sport actually, and we use a bigger ball. But we're not manufacturing the goal ball in the country. It's a very big ball. We're not manufacturing. But with this program that we're currently running with the Olympiasium Hub, we got a chance to be able to import a few goal balls to enable them play. It's purely for the visually impaired. That's a goal ball. But here locally, we are manufacturing the sound ball. And the sound ball, I said, you put bells. And initially when we put the balls, we were putting 4 bells, and then we realized that the sound quality was at some point was faded. So through the program, through again continuous innovation, we've increased the number of sound balls, sound bells in the ball. So when the ball rolls, it's louder for them to be able to play, and they play what is called the blind football. So they'll use that ball, they'll kick it here, but it has its own rules. But then we realize giving them the balls and not equipping them with skills to learn how to play will not work. So we have, this program has a double edged. Again, we all, as Alive and Kiki, we don't do one thing at a time. So we are stitching the balls. Remember, as we stitch these balls, we're creating employment on
on the other side.
Those balls, we get them, we're going to donate them to schools. But what we have done is rallied almost all the teachers of special needs education and bring them together for a workshop where we teach them the proper use of the balls and how to manage to learn the rules of the game. Because then it's been a long time before they were taught that. And we're doing that jointly with KESAVI. KESAVI is the Kenya Sports Association for the visually impaired. Remember, as we're teaching, but we're not the experts in how to handle the technical bit. So again, collaboration is the key to success. So we're collaborating with the Ministry of Education, Alive and Kicking, and Kenya Association of Visual Impairment. So they're the ones who train the teachers. So we are sort of doing what is called upskilling. We're upskilling the teachers to learn how to use these balls, to learn how to to do all this, and to take now that to the community, to the schools they are. So we've done like 3 workshops so far. Again, thankful to the Olympiasium Innovation Olympiasium 365 Innovation Hub that has sponsored us. So that now with that consortium, we're able to have funds that can do that. Otherwise, on our own as Alive and Kicking, once we sell the balls, what is the money for programs? We won't have. So that's an element that is normally funded. So we've been doing both to Tucheze Pia for the blind. We do mental health education. We also do health messages on balls for schools. So we've been doing all that, but those don't come from the proceeds of the sales. So they come from the proceeds of programs, and that's where we get our grants to run the programs.
All right, let's take a breather.
Fantastic.
Yes. Tukunywe maji kidogo. This is very insightful, by the way. Very interesting conversation we are having here with Grace Kiraguri, the Sports for Development consultant. When we come back, we are going to talk about African Women in Sports Initiative, aka AWISI. When we come back.
Breakpoint on Sporty FM. Beyond Sport.
It's Plenty by Burna Boy playing here on Sport FM. Time now is 17 minutes to 12 noon. This is the Breakpoint and my name is Kwanya Joshua.
Yes, and of course this is Hilda Chepto. You can call me Chep, and it is Sporty FM KE on all social media platforms.
And we are having a conversation with Grace Kiraguri, Sports for Development consultant, and our conversation is around leveraging sports as a catalyst for community development. As we were going for the break, Grace, we wanted to talk about the African Women in Sports Initiative, aka AWISI. What is it and what do they do?
Oh, fantastic. So African Women in Sports Initiative, AWISI as you're rightfully calling it, is a group, is a foundation first and foremost, that has brought together very many women from across different parts of the country. And why are we bringing ourselves together? Because we realize that there's a need for a women's voice. We realize women are in federations, in different federations, but there was no singular voice where we can bring women together. So our purpose is to bring women together, to be the voice of women, to elevate women and to empower women who are in sports. Because the sports fraternity is wider. Some women in sports are not necessarily in the federation, so they're not represented. Look at sports journalists. And they're doing the work of sports. Look at sports photojournalists. Look at Grace Kiraguri, who's an entrepreneur in sports. But we do not have a voice of what we want to do, of listening to other women and bring ourselves to ensure that we speak for them, we elevate them, and also drive the gender equality in sports. As well as, apart from driving the gender equality in sports, as well as ensure that in the future we have women very well represented in leadership. So this is like, I would say, we are aiming to carry our women with us and to elevate the women in the sports sector. That's basically what African Women in Sports as an association, as a federation, as a foundation aims to do and to impact. And we're in very many we've got members across, I think now we're going to a membership of about 700, 800, and all of them across, I would say, across a larger part of Africa. I don't have the exact numbers, but I would say maybe we are now in maybe about 39 countries represented. And of course I'm also part of that organization, Kwanya.
You had to say that.
Unajua keep radar. It's a good place again for networking as well.
Exactly.
And she mentioned the networks, it's very, 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 very important. And the ecosystem has so many, because not all of us can be athletes.
Exactly.
So we support sports in different ways. We have sports lawyers, we have doctors, marketers, engineers, different types of professions in that ecosystem as well.
And you had to tell me that in a something like sports that is male dominated, how difficult is it for women to, like you and of course Chep Vilanasema, she's part of AWISI, how difficult is it is for women being involved in sports?
I think it is actually difficult for the women, especially in the athletes part, because then the field, like you've said, is very male dominated. So the actual athletics bit is a bit dominated, and so are all the federations. But if you look at the ecosystem, who are thriving in the ecosystem, it's the women. Why? Branding, creating merchandising, photography, all those are aspects for women. And that's the women. Those are the women we want to empower, so that jointly they can speak for the other group that is kind of push down the athletes bit. So the balance is what is going to win for us. So I think it's a difficult space generally for women, because we, even in leadership, tell me a federation, that is, apart from now we see that is woman led and has the whole board being women. Tell me where else we would be. Give me one if you have an idea. I know you're on the other gender.
Like the club I support. Let me talk about the club I support. Gor Mahia.
Okay.
The vice chairperson is a lady.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm not saying we're not yet there, but it's taken a lot of time. It's taken years for us to get there. And sometimes I hope when we get there, we're not getting there because of affirmative action. We're getting there because we can do the
meritocracy.
job.
And I also wanted to ask that, because are this federation just letting women in to tick the box? Ama they're letting them in because they qualify?
I think women are qualified. I think very many women are qualified. It's just that we need to maintain the voice. When we get in there as elected person, do we get there and then get co-opted into the ways of the boys clubs? Because I think almost all clubs across everywhere I've been is a boys club. But if you're qualified, you know, with the say God doesn't just call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
Yes.
So if you are there and you've been called, then play your role. And if you play your role as God has called you and enabled you to do, by the way, you'll be a voice for women. But how many are we? Which is why we are saying we need to support those women in those federations by coming as a force, by creating one unique body of African women in sports so that we can speak for them. And when we are at it, I hope you're aware about one of the biggest challenges facing women in sports is a sexual gender-based violence, which is one of the things that sexual and gender-based violence, which is another thing that we are also saying as a WISI, as we are championing all these other elements of leadership, as we are championing these elements of elevating women, can we also speak against this vice that is affecting the women in sports? And if we don't speak it out, who else will? So confidently, we have the confidence to speak about it, to make noise about it, and to make organizations that also support this call to come and see that the women in sports have been left behind, and therefore partner with us to increase and amplify the voice. So if you look at us, we're soon going to be having a summit in Uganda, and it is basically to address, it's actually aligned in November, which you know the same month of November has the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So we are expecting that, and we are confident that all the bodies supporting that a fight for against the gender-based violence will come on board to support us and so that we can speak as one voice. And I was doing another interview some time back, and the Nigerians were really getting on me saying that gender-based violence is very heavy in East Africa. Yi munafanya nini? Uko kwenye ndio mnauliwa, you know? So it kind of appears that East Africa is leading across the African states in terms of gender-based violence. But it's not that we are leading. It's just that the fatality has happened in our countries. Otherwise, gender-based violence cuts across all nations. Because gender-based violence is not just about a woman being killed. Gender-based violence can be verbal, it can be sexual, it can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be just harassment of any nature that affects you because you're a woman. So that happens across every element of sports. Remember coaches, remember the people training us, majority are men. So to get favors like to travel, to go and play, sometimes an element of coercion, an element of pushing them to make a decision that is out end a trip. Where out end a trip. So imagine it is not aggressive harassment, but that's an element of coercing me to agree to something so that I travel. So I always want to clarify that the gender-based violence is cuts across all women in sports across many countries. And we saw a very good example in the US with the US one time when we had a case of Larry Nassar who was for the gymnastics team. And it took so many years for the girls to come out and say it because it's seen as a taboo. Do you know the record number of people who came to testify was more than 200 and something thousand? So what are we saying? That not 200, sorry, let me get back, 200 not thousand, about that number. All of them saying even me. That means it's a silent crime, and it's never reported. So if developed countries have such people hiding within the sports sector but abusing women secretly, how much more is it happening in other countries? So we all need to speak. The reason why Kenya and Uganda look like we're dominating is just because in the recent past we've had cases of fatality. But it doesn't mean that it's not happening everywhere else. So we need to air our voice and speak. And where else are we going to air this if we don't speak as women under one umbrella, under one voice? Then we have what we call the unity of purpose, that we are all speaking for one cause and we fight that particular cause. But we won't do if we are disintegrated. We will not. So that's what basically I'm trying to say. That's basically what AWISI aims to do.
Is it purely for women, like even in terms of leadership?
Yes. You know, when you said African women in sports,
I'm just curious.
We do know that at some point women can't move alone. We will require the support of men, but they cannot be in leadership. What we want them to do is to support us on the sideline so that we move together. Because if they come into if we bring them onto the board and all, then we get back to what we're calling patriarchal, where the decisions are basically. I think the male gender is very good at wielding its power. So whenever they go, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, they've been gifted by God.
Yes.
So whenever they go, they push their agenda. So because we don't want that element, and we're not going to leave them behind, we'll not bring them on the table.
Okay.
On the table, let us make the decisions ourselves.
Yes.
But when we need support from men, of course, all these organizations we are working for, UN, we're asking them, come and work with us. FIDA, come and work with us. So and so, come and work with us. Of course, they'll bring plus. Even the Khan University that released the research on gender-based violence the other day, we want to work with them. And it doesn't mean that they're led by women. So we are carrying our men who believe in this agenda with us
together,
but they are not on the leadership. Alafu nayo tutakuwa tumechoma. We might end up being flower girls. Yes. In our own wedding, if we bring in the other gender.
I like the analogy.
Yes. Support. Come in as support.
Let them come and support us. And there are very many men who believe in women empowerment. They believe in liberating us. They believe in giving us chances for leadership because we have the ability. But we want to work with them parallel.
Yes.
Twende pamoja, but let us run our agenda.
Absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of leadership, there's a program that you are part of.
Yes.
That is the Global Sports mentoring program. Can you tell us more about that program, and currently how many people are part of the program at the moment?
Okay.
Yes.
Lovely. I was selected to join the Global Sports Mentoring Program, which was the inaugural program in 2012. Again, this guy might be working out my age. 2012. I was selected to join this program. It's a program that was launched by the US government, the sports diplomacy section. It was aiming to also look at, there are very many programs that were running before then for women, empowering women entrepreneurs, empowering teachers, empowering all these, but no one was looking for the women, was looking at the sector of sports.
Yes.
So it is very specific that it is only going to empower women who are in the sports sector. And that's why I fall in. I said, I am not in the sports sector because I'm an athlete, but I was in the sports sector then because I have been in the entrepreneurship space. So I was selected to join this program. So this program aims to bring together women in the sports sector across the world together for a 6 weeks training program in the US. So it's an exchange program for between Kenya and the between all the countries and the US. So we're from different countries. For instance, in my year, we were 17 of us from very many countries. I said Africa was 7. We had Macedonia, we had Australia, so you're all mixed together so that you learn more. But it's not just learning. I say there's an element of mentorship. So when you land in the US, they have then done your bio before and they've realized your strength because they've interviewed you. So they will match you with another woman in the US working in the same sector that you are or close by, and you will shadow that mentor for the next 3 weeks. So when you land in the US, you go through the orientation about understanding the America because they're your sponsor. Then after that, now you move for 3 weeks to another state where your mentor could be. For instance, my mentor was in California, LA, and I always said, hey, from the village to LA. Not just the LA, not Langata. You know, I live in Langata.
I also live in Langata.
Los Angeles, and I was there for 3 weeks. And they expose you. So that bit for me was the social bit. But in terms of the being exposed to seeing events, I was running events that time for sports, going to some of the biggest, in fact, some of the biggest events in that, and you see how they're organized. You see the logistics. We are worlds apart. You get mesmerized at how organized events are. I was seeing university against university. All these guys, if you go for a game, say you go for an American football,
NFL,
of course I went for American football, and I couldn't understand what the hell is all this. And it's because the game is different and I had never seen it. But for me, I didn't want again to bother with the technicalities of the sport because I don't understand it. But how about the marketing element? Do you know the stadium is full? You find it's maybe UCLA University playing against Stanford. One side is completely blue, and that's they come and they buy the merchandise. So for me, again, having the business lens, I was looking at the opportunities to make money. The number stadium inajaa kila time wakikuwa na games.
But college football is really big in the US.
Big.
College football
and
is
they all
even
come,
big.
they are so loyal to their colors. They come, the whole stadium will be right into half.
And they have their chance.
Whatever. And then they have their chance. Then they have what they call tailgating. Before the game starts, it's a party outside there. How many opportunities are you seeing for business? And the tickets are sold out. Look at ticketing itself. If a stadium holds 90 capacity, it's all full.
Yes.
So I went there to see the magnitude and the opportunity of business in sports in reality.
Yes.
So you're matched with somebody who will also expose you to all that. How do you come and translate the same to Kenya?
Yes.
Would you come and transfer the same to Kenya? But more importantly, when you're in that program, because you're a woman, they want you when you come back home to do stuff that also elevates women. Because already we've already said earlier on that most of the sports activities are already dominated by men. So part of empowering you is to give you skills enough, but also to tap into that part of yours that has, I want to carry the women with me. Because when we say when one woman thrives, the village thrives, the community thrives, the nation thrives. You see? So if I come back and change the lives of one person, so that's why I also learned the art of mentoring. Now how to mentor people. So that program has lifted me for those many years, and I've remained a very active participant in the alumni, which means sometimes I'm also called here and there to talk with at the embassy level, to talk at events happening, and that's how I got again a chance to work with the American Embassy public diplomacy division, when they wanted to do a program in sports but for women. Who was a better person than me, who was a good candidate, and therefore I ran the basketball Mtaani program. And the basketball Mtaani program was my write-up, where I spoke about I wanted to bring women from various universities. I couldn't afford very many of them, bring them with the budget I have, bring them to a central place. They do the skills of basketball. That's why I had about 5 coaches to come and skill them. But apart from that, train them on mentorship. So I had a side, as they're learning the technical aspect, I have my program running. I want to teach them communication, how to communicate better. I want to teach them about the social media presence, not just going there to make noise or to talk badly, but because you know, to talk badly, but you go there and make use of that platform to be a voice and to tell yourself. Emotional branding, emotional intelligence. So all those are aspects that I've been training on the basketball Mtaani. And then how does this end? It ends in a very good story, because of being close to the alumni. I'm a very active alumni, but there I'm the regional ambassador for the alumni in Africa. So I bring them together. That's my appointment. I try to bring the alumni together. So in the process, I'm still in touch with my people back there, because that's what you should be. Don't just go and learn and then come back and be and sleep on what you were taught. So I've been uplifting some of these girls, and luckily this year when the program was called, we're given a chance to nominate. I nominated Rose Mushila. I think Rose Mushila is somebody
assistant coach at Nairobi City Thunder.
Exactly. And she was also a coach at Basketball Mtaani, and she has so many other accolades. In fact, if I start reading, they were I'm like, I can't even finish that she's been able to do. She also has her Mamba Clicks team at Kayole, so she's able to play national and also do grassroots.
And also grassroots. Yeah, grassroots is important.
That's what we are saying. We're not going to grow game of women if only concentrate on the top high end. So she's able to be on that high platform and also come to
Narudi mashinani.
Exactly. Which is where we want to grow.
Yes.
And so when I nominated her, I gave her we did put a good word for her. And anyway, even at the interview, she nailed it. She nailed it. And off she went last week on Friday. So she'll go through the same course, the same program that I went through, only that she's not attached to California. I don't know what. I think
she might be somewhere different.
Not might be, she's in Florida actually. So she'll go to be Florida. And she'll come back at the same. And when she comes back, we'll expect her to do the same things I've been doing.
I
have always been, some of these young girls, I talk to them when I'm called to talk to them. So I never stop being a voice, irrespective of where I am.
Alright. Chepata wewe pia unataka kwenda US.
Nitajaribu kuapply.
Yes.
But she has also been a mentor to me as well.
Absolutely.
We've met in different platforms, and I love talking to her.
Yes.
And she knows.
Ojo, when the conversation is good, time inakimbia sana.
We're almost done.
But just before we finalize, what's the role of government in your work? Do you collaborate with them? Do you get assistance from the government, or how do you work? How does your work, sports for development and government correlate?
To be very honest, my only fast correlation with government, I haven't been able to correlate with government for a period of time, for a long time. But in the recent past, using the Tucheze Pia program, I would never have been able to penetrate through the schools, the 84 institutions, without getting clearance from the Ministry of Education. So you can never be work in isolation. They may not come and help you financially or whatever, but there's a collaboration that you need for your program to be successful. Just the letter, it enables you to open other doors in all the schools. Otherwise, schools won't allow you to just come in with your program and start running. So you have to work. I have worked in that Jago house, trying to get meetings until I got the letter, and it wasn't an easy. It wasn't an easy journey. Actually, the program started about like 2 months late, as we're still getting our hands on to how to unpack the government, because the government is also sometimes one big bureaucracy. But let me tell you,
does that frustrate you, that process of waiting on the government? Does it frustrate really?
The thing is, it can frustrate you as a person, but for me, what I knew is that I was expecting, even in my head, when planning the rollout of this program, I just planned like, it's like when you're buying, what can I say? There's some things you want to buy very fast, like a house. Alafu unapika kwa Ministry of Land, unaambiwa sijui itaitwa So you
get prepared.
You get prepared.
Mentally prepared.
So for me, I'm mentally prepared, and it's because I have to be prepared, because I know that I'm not going to go anywhere without them. And also at the same point, it calls for you to be a very good lobbyist, to be a very good to know who else you can talk to, because it's who sometimes. Nimekwama kwa gava, hebu nisaidie. Nimekwama hapa, you get contacts, and you're told I have the contact for the PA to the PA to the CS. Can I get you? And that's how you go around. Because if you read the letter the way it's supposed to be, and you ask everything, and then you sit and wait, it goes around for long. But when you know the right doors to knock, it will take a bit of time. But when you get that door, I'm telling you, you'll be calling county education officer. My name is so and so from 11 Kiki. Oh, tulikuwa tumeambiwa. Tulikuwa tunakungojea. Or they're already aware.
Niwe umechelewa.
But it makes your work now very easy and flawless. Because like now we are going to those schools, institutions, we are calling the teachers to come in for a training. How can you command as an individual from a private sector and tell teachers to come? They don't answer to you. But if you work in collaboration with the government, it will work.
It easier.
Even there's a time we were running another program for mental health in school that was funded by somebody else. Again, for you to go to talk to the teachers for their mental health or have a program running, you need again the backing of the Ministry of Education, but now a different department, not necessarily the one for special needs. So I've learned that you cannot work in isolation without the government. The government might be slow, but it's a machinery that you cannot do without. For just for the sake of, even if you want to develop schools, they're slow, but do your bit. But I'm telling you, when you get into them, you succeed.
You speak so well, and I can listen to you all day long. Apart from just sports and development, do you also get invited to speak to girls in schools, just to empower them, inspire them, and motivate them, like your usual people in the society would always do, different schools, or even in your alma maters?
I find myself being called to talk to women surprisingly a lot. Like I mentioned, I'm a trainer in entrepreneurship, but also a motivational speaker, right? To talk about such issues. But I haven't been able to penetrate the schools. But I think if I do the records of the many events that I've been called to speak to women, there are a lot. And also I run another program for women empowerment, but it's a program that's been running for 3 years. And this program is for women in the transport and logistics sector. They are nowhere near sports, but we want to elevate women in the logistic and transport and logistics sector. So I have a program that runs of women
in transport.
In transport for the last 3 years. Cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3. And if you ask them about Grace, because I interact with them these are women who are truck drivers. These are women who are mechanics. These are women sometimes
that's another area that is male dominated.
Exactly. So for me, it looks like that's where God is driving me, to be able to lift women who are in communities that are a bit marginalized by the very nature of the sector. So the transport industry, I ran a program called She Delivers. She Delivers is a program we created in 2023 to just create a platform to empower women. So as you say, I speak to women all the time and girls, but not necessarily in schools. I was trying to move away from schools, but my everyday life, if you look for me even in my LinkedIn or where I am super active, not usintafuta kwa
IG.
Nitafuta kwa LinkedIn. Huko kwa age group yangu. I'm a voice, and I say I'm a champion for women empowerment. And I don't select. I do women in the church, but then can I forget that I'm also speak to women in the church, youth, women in the church. I am my youth will tell you, Grace is our trainer for branding, personal branding. Usitoke kwa nyumba na stalking. Usitoke, hiyo ndio utabidi headmaster wako wa kitambo. So that element of training, I transfer it across very many sectors. I just haven't gotten the platform to get into schools.
Fantastic.
But I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've just talked about transport. There's a lady driver who once said she was working for one of the leading PSV bus companies. Alikuwa anasema ya kwamba whenever she sat in that driver's seat and a male passenger walks in, angemuuliza driver ni nani?
Yes. Exactly.
Akisema ni mimi, then it's like utatufikisha Kisumu wewe.
That is a very, for me, I'm not in the women in the PSV, the trucks. The trucks. I'm talking about trailers.
Yes.
22 wheeler, by the way. So they come, they're trained, and this is a very unique sector. But like you, everybody normally sees a woman in the is utafikisha cargo. Even those questions will come.
Yes.
But how do we demystify this?
Yeah,
is by putting very many other women on those vehicles. The minute people see, it's the same time. A long time ago, if you drove in your Sharks and your woman driving, all the children used to stop and stare at you because they only saw men driving. But with time, have they been seeing very many women driving? That is not. It's become normal. So even in that industry, the more we push women, the more we push them to be seen on this long haul drivers moving from Nairobi to Rwanda, moving from Nairobi to Uganda. At one point it will be normal.
It will change the narrative.
So, but there's got to be somebody who starts that program that changes the narrative. It's not you. If it's not me, who else will do it? Yeah, we all wait for each other. So me, I'm doing it, but through a company called Pontypridd Holdings.
Yes.
Brilliant. And just I think as we finalize, I would love just to hear how can people support, that is Awisi. Tucheze pia.
Yes.
And just generally the projects that you are part of, that is Sports for Development, and of course plus Awisi.
Yes. I think I'll start with Awisi because that's where I think that's where my heart is at the moment. I think for supporting Awisi, one, first join us as a woman who is out there, because we need to put you in part of our group to be a voice. Find out how you can join Awisi. It's very simple. We just have a WhatsApp link. Join us and become part of us as a group, as we even encourage now formalizing in terms of membership. Number 2, we are having a conference and upcoming in Uganda. We want to be the voice for women, and we are saying it's very gender-based. It's going to be speaking against gender-based violence. Actually, we're going to have a moment to design a declaration as women. What do we want to see in? How do we want to handle gender-based violence? And if you're a woman out there and you know that you can help another woman, join us and be the voice. So even in Uganda, you're welcome to join us for the summit.
Yes.
Buy a ticket, twende Kampala, and we start. And we chose Uganda because we said we are an African body, but we said we must start somewhere.
Yes.
So we're starting with Uganda.
Fantastic. Tungekuwa kanisani on the pulpit, tungesema pray for us, your last prayer, but please.
And I like that because that's my other
I've seen it. I've seen it. Your last word of inspiration to the young girls.
To the young girls.
Yes.
To the young girls is just I would like to talk to young girls and tell them that to believe in themselves and to believe that they can.
Yes.
And when I say that is because I began with my story of saying when I went for that interview the very first time, it was a very male-dominated board. And I went there and I fought my way out as a small younger girl. And that confidence has been built a lot by believing in myself. Otherwise, I came from a family of girls. I can't say that I saw men. No, it's just believing in yourself and believing in your abilities.
Yes.
Every girl can. If I did it then in that boardroom, even a younger girl can do it. Then imagine setting up a business again. After coming from that boardroom, I set up a business in a male-dominated sector.
Yes.
I think in that 2012, if I'm not wrong, I was the only woman running a sports marketing agency. Of course, there were people doing sports, but they were employed under other. It wasn't strictly a sports marketing agency.
Yes.
So to be bold enough to set that, it calls for you to be daring and to travel in roads that are less traveled. Again, look at me opening up doors for women in the transport and logistics sector. I haven't gone to where people are. I'm taking a trail where there is no road and creating a trail. I mean, I'm creating a path where there was no path and creating a trail. And the minute you do that, is believing in yourself, believing in your abilities and your degree of confidence. They'll take you far. Hapa, well, I think that's what I would say. You build yourself. Nobody else can. If you don't build yourself,
no one will.
No one will. The rest can help you lift you up because we rise by raising others. But even as you're being lifted, what are you doing for yourself? Are you shy? Are you not sure of yourself? Do you look confused? Do you people won't help you. But if your peer there, ndio kusema, ndio kujua. And I'm not saying you become kimbelembele. I always want to differentiate that, but just ability to communicate what you want to do, where you want to go, and go for it.
Yes. Fantastic. It's been a very good conversation. I said that when the conversation is good, you never know that time inasonga sana. But it has been a good conversation with Grace Kiraguri, this sports for development consultant. And as you leave, there is a statement that you said that since ulisema in your other life you go to church so much, and God doesn't call the qualified.
He qualifies the called.
He qualifies the called.
So whenever God calls you, he'll qualify you.
Yes.
So go and dominate in your space.
Go dominate in your space.
Yeah.
It's the best place to end it. And thank you so much for coming here on the Breakpoint on Sport FM, the only station we talk about sports 24 hours, 7 days a week. This is the Breakpoint on Sport FM, Beyond Sport.